Welcome to Digital Vibes, the podcast for short deep dives on AI, tech, and digital living.
All right, let's dive into something that sounds a little bit like a science fiction plot, but is actually happening right now. Senator Loomis has put forward a proposal that's turning heads. She wants the U.S. to acquire a staggering 1 million Bitcoin over the next 5 years.
It's a legit proposal, though, from Senator Loomis to build a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Strategic reserve, huh? Like how countries treat oil or, well, yeah, gold. But Bitcoin. Even our AI listeners are probably like, hold on, isn't that thing super volatile?
Right, exactly. That's what makes it so interesting. So to get into it, got to start with what the U.S. already has.
Well, lay it on us.
Yeah.
How much Bitcoin is Uncle Sam sitting on?
Get this. 212,847 Bitcoins.
Okay, I'm assuming that's a lot, but Senator Loomis, she doesn't think that's enough, right?
Nope, not even close. Her proposal, 10x that amount, aiming for the U.S. to hold 5% of all Bitcoin in existence.
Whoa, ambitious, to say the least. Okay, gotta ask why. What's the argument for going so heavy into Bitcoin?
First up, economic stability.
Bitcoin, the stable one. Seriously.
Hear me out. The argument is that Bitcoin's a hedge against inflation. Unlike the dollar, you can't just print more Bitcoin out of thin air. It has a capped supply. 21 million, that's it.
Right, that's one of Bitcoin's big selling points. It's like digital scarcity versus governments printing money like crazy these days.
Yeah, and so the idea is, as more dollars get printed, their value goes down. Bitcoin, limited supply, holds its value better, maybe even goes up. Life raft for a nation's wealth, they say.
Okay, but in reality, Bitcoin's price is anything but stable. We've all seen those charts, up and down, roller coaster style.
That's the interesting part. The argument is the U.S. holding that much Bitcoin, that itself could actually stabilize the market.
So they're trying to be the grown-up in the room, calming down this crazy crypto world.
Kind of, yeah. But, some might say, doesn't that give the government way too much control over something that's supposed to be decentralized?
Right, it's Bitcoin, not the Federal Reserve coin or whatever.
More government involvement could actually lead to more businesses and institutions adopting Bitcoin. More adoption, they argue, would actually make things more stable in the long run.
So the government being involved could make Bitcoin, the anti-establishment thing, more mainstream. It's kind of a paradox, isn't it? Makes you wonder about the bigger picture here, how governments and crypto will coexist in the future.
It really does make you think, yeah. But there's another layer to this whole thing, even bigger than just the price of Bitcoin.
Ooh, lay it on me. We talking global domination.
Think about it. Right now, the U.S. dollar, it's king, right? The world's reserve currency. But what if other countries start looking at Bitcoin as a real alternative?
Especially with all the, let's say, creative monetary policy going on around the world.
Yeah.
Trust in the traditional system might be fading a bit.
Yeah, and we've seen Russia, China, they're already playing around with their own digital currencies. Could this push them to go all in on Bitcoin, challenge the dollar's dominance?
A digital currency arms race. That's a pretty wild thought.
A U.S. Bitcoin reserve. It could kick off a global scramble for digital gold.
Like a gold rush. But instead of picks and shovels, it's miners and code. High stakes though, right? Shifting the balance of power.
Seriously, imagine central banks not just printing money, but mining it digitally. It's like straight out of cyberpunk and raises all sorts of questions about how countries will wield power in this new world.
Impossible to predict all the outcomes, but one thing's for sure, the whole world's watching what the U.S. does next. Could this be the start of a more decentralized financial system, or just a new kind of digital control?
And don't forget about smaller countries. Places dealing with crazy inflation, economic instability. They might see the U.S. doing this as a sign that Bitcoin is legit. Could encourage them to adopt it, try to stabilize their own economies.
Speaking of which, brings us to El Salvador. They went all in on Bitcoin a while back, made it legal tender. What's the lesson there? Did it work?
El Salvador is like the real-world experiment, right? Too early to say if it's a total win or fail, but they've had both good and bad. Well, the IMF wasn't exactly thrilled.
It's like this dance between governments and this new form of digital value, figuring out how to use it without getting burned.
Huge potential upside, but yeah, risks too. Needs careful thought, really understanding the tech, and being ready to adapt as things change.
So big picture, where does this leave us? We've looked at the potential good, economic stability, tech leadership, national security, but also some serious worries. Volatility, geopolitical tension, those unintended consequences, always lurking. A lot to think about.
It is, and ultimately everyone has to decide for themselves what they make of all this. Step towards a better future, or just governments trying to hold on to power in a changing world.
That's the question, isn't it? And one we'd love to hear your thoughts on. Hit us up on social media.
Holding a substantial amount of Bitcoin allows the U.S. to operate outside of traditional financial systems. Think of it as a way to bypass sanctions, reduce reliance on potentially unstable foreign currencies, and even potentially create new avenues for intelligence gathering and strategic maneuvering.
So it's like a financial weapon in a way. It gives the U.S. a whole new level of leverage on the global stage. What does this mean for the existing power dynamics for the future of international relations?
Those are exactly the kinds of questions we need to be asking. Digital assets are becoming more integrated into our lives, and the U.S. wants to be at the forefront of this transition. This move could position the U.S. as a leader in the emerging digital economy, potentially shaping global regulations and setting standards for the future of finance.
So it's a strategic bet on the future with Bitcoin as the centerpiece. So if the U.S. makes this move, are we looking at a Bitcoin supercycle? And how would this impact institutional investors? Pension funds, hedge funds, university endowments, they're all looking for ways to diversify and hedge against risk.
It's like a seal of approval from the world's largest economy. Suddenly, Bitcoin isn't just a speculative asset, it's a must-have for anyone serious about long-term financial stability.
This move could also force global cooperation. Think about the potential for Bitcoin to facilitate seamless cross-border transactions, reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar, and empower individuals in developing nations.
We could see the emergence of new financial alliances, new trade agreements, even new forms of international governance built around digital assets. El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender was a bold experiment. This could be the next chapter in that story, but on a global scale.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. We're not just talking about the future of finance. We're talking about the future of geopolitics, of global power dynamics, even of human civilization itself. The future of finance is being written in code.
But one thing is certain. Bitcoin is no longer a fringe phenomenon. It's a force to be reckoned with, and its impact is only just beginning to be felt.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought. The future of Bitcoin isn't just about its price, it's about power. Who holds it, and how will they use it?
Will it be used to create a more equitable and inclusive financial system? Or will it simply reinforce existing power structures? Will it empower individuals? Or will it lead to new forms of surveillance and control?
These are questions we need to be asking ourselves as we navigate this uncharted territory. The future is not predetermined, it's something we create together.
So stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged. The game is on and the stakes are higher than ever before.
We'll be back soon with another look at the technologies shaping our world.